Good evening to the public who may be watching online. We will be starting momentarily when we have a quorum. Thank you for your patience. Okay, Chair, we now have a quorum and you may start the meeting.
All right, fantastic. So thank you, and we are going to start this meeting off at 6:03 p.m. And we're starting with roll call, please.
Commissioner Eddings. Commissioner Johnston. Commissioner Laval. Commissioner Federico. Commissioner Halagian.
Present.
Vice Chair Hatwig. Chair Sponsler.
Here. All right, so we do have a quorum now, and we're going to go ahead and move on to item 2, our procedures. For each matter considered by the Commission, there will first be a staff presentation, followed by a presentation from the project applicant. The Commissioners will now have the opportunity to ask questions of staff and applicant before opening to the public. Testimony from supporters of the project will be taken, followed by testimony from those in opposition. Staff may provide a summation if necessary. The applicant will have the right to a final rebuttal presentation prior to closing the public hearing, followed by consideration of the item and action, if any, by the Commission. In accordance with Section 13 of Article 2 of the Historic Preservation Bylaws governing length of public debate, all public testimony from those in support and in opposition of the project will be limited to 3 minutes per person. All public testimony must be presented to the Commission at the podium. Any testimony that references race, religion, ethnicity, economic status, national origin, or any other classification protected under state or federal law in a derogatory manner shall be deemed irrelevant and will not be considered by the Commission in making its determinations. If you challenge these matters in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised in oral written testimony before the close of the hearing. With that, we'll move on to item 3, which is going to be approving of the meeting minutes, which we do not have currently for November. So we're going to move on now to approving of the agenda, item 4. Is there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Chair, a couple of items. So there is an item listed under 7D, an update from High Speed Rail Authority regarding the Chinatown fire. They're unable to present tonight, so we would ask that that item be removed from the agenda, and we'll put it on at a future date. Additionally, I would like to note that Assistant Director Ashley Atkinson and Brownfield's Administrator David Densley are both online and will be making their presentations via Zoom. I have no further changes.
All right. So noting that we will have some electronic as well as a removal of item 7D to a time to be determined. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion approved by Commissioner Johnson. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Eddings. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We have an approved agenda. At this point, we're going to move on to our consent calendar. Are there any questions regarding any of the items on the consent calendar? Okay. I do believe this has to go to the public.
Consent calendar does not.
Okay. So with that case, we'll move on back, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Move to approve.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Halajian.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Calendar passes. Moving past continued matters and on to commission items with item 7A, file ID 25-1691, the review and comment on the Section 106 report for the 887 Fulton Street, formerly known as the Berkeley's Building. And we will start with our presentation.
Good evening, Chair. Before I introduce David Densley, David is our administrator for our Brownfields program here at the City of Fresno, where we receive federal funding. And as you know, in your role as commission, one of your duties is to review and comment on Section 108 reports for federally funded projects, which are not subject to our agreement with the SHPO. So the next two items will be presentations by David, and you will be able to ask questions. Again, this is review and comment, and so there is no public hearing on these items. With that, David Densley, go ahead.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. David Densley, Projects Administrator, and yeah, I'll be walking you through the next two projects. What we're looking for you to do, like the director was mentioning, is a review and comment on the Section 106 reports. I've got the lead author from Stantec Consulting Incorporated, Elena, as well. So if you have any technical questions, she may be helpful in that regard. Next slide. What we hoped with the 106 report, it's going to be kind of a complete file. I listed out some appendices, which is the project map, the undertaking, and the area of potential effects. What I would note with this project, it is a federal undertaking, so we're asking you to review and comment, and the outcome of those is, for the reports is that we found that there's going to be no negative effects, as well as they're not recommended for listing on both the national or state level. And I'll take any questions that you may have.
All right.
David, before we jump in, so the first one is the Berkeley Building. You have Exhibit A, which includes the description of the project and what's happening, and then Exhibit B. So Exhibit A is the inventory and evaluation report. Exhibit B is the DPR form, and Exhibit C, is, my computer is very slow. So David, can you walk through each of these documents? What's being proposed? What is the findings of the report. So outside of just no negative impacts, that would be helpful for the public since there's just a single slide.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll speak a little bit more to the project location and undertakings, and then as well as to the recommendations or conclusions. So the first one we're going to be talking about today is 887 Fulton, and that's going to be parcel 468-282-21T, historically known as the Berkeley Building. That'll be referenced on Appendix A for the visual. It is contained to the building's footprint. What we did is, for the purpose of the proposed project, it's to abate hazardous materials, and the funding, federal funding that's going to be used is the Brownfield Cleanup Revolving Loan Fund. What we're looking to do with this building is necessary site preparation, removal of asbestos and lead-based paint throughout the building found in the ceiling, the floors, as well as the basement, repair and replace the roof, and restore the building's envelope because there was pretty prevalent mold inside of the building. So we are going to remove any commingled mold as well as those named contaminants. We'll do that by appropriately containing barrier, creating air filtration systems inside of the building, and properly removing and disposing of those contaminants. By the end of that, that's the end of the federal action that prepares that building to move forward with other planned demolitions and construction.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions before we go? Keep in mind that this is just if there's any questions regarding the actual, not the actual project, but any clarifying questions with regards to what was necessarily mentioned, but before we go to public.
Yes, I have a question about, do we have a visual of any changes that would be proposed that would affect the exterior of the building?
That is a great question. Jennifer, would you like me to take that?
At this time, so the project for the purpose of the federal funding is to abate the brownfield contamination. Any other future action would need to come before the commission if they were making any modifications to the exterior of the property.
But it was mentioned that some work to the mold that impacts the envelope would be done. Is there any alterations to the envelope that would have a impact on its appearance?
That's a great question. David, is there, in terms of this particular project, will any of the modifications, there's the roof, but other modifications that will impact the exterior?
Hi, yes, yeah, so there'll be no major impacts for this federal action that would affect the outside or exterior. We're mostly focusing completely interior and then just the portions of the roof that have the asbestos-containing material.
Well, my question too is the portion of the roof that's going to be replaced, is that visible from the main approaches from the street? Will that be visible to the public?
And Elena can jump in as well. We both did the site survey. It should not be visible from the street level. The way the building is 2 stories, it wasn't able to be seen from the walk around when I was there.
Okay. All right.
And I had one last other comment.
Well, so we'll wait for comments till after we open to the public.
Oh, then I have a question.
This is
not
for
go?
review and comment. It's not an action item of the commission, so it does not have a public hearing.
Okay,
I apologize. I get gun shy sometimes. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, the question was, did I understand you to say that it had not been found eligible, which is contrary, of course, to the documentation provided? It definitely, at least in 2011, was found eligible to the register. So do we have updated information on that?
I'll pass to Elena. We did reference and review that DPR form.
Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me now. Thank you for having me. We did review previous documentation found during document review, and we found that the building had been recommended eligible for the local register, but not the national register. And upon review of the National Register and California Register criteria, we determined this building did not meet the threshold of a building individually eligible for listing.
Well, and of course, we can see the documentation supporting that finding, please.
David, is that documentation in what was submitted to the commission?
Elena, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we capture that in Appendix E? That's the updated DPR series form?
Yes, the evaluation is both in the Appendix E form as well as within the report body itself.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on this? All right. Let me look at my comments.
And Commissioners, Appendix E begins on page 88 of the report.
I am to understand that this section 106 is only covering the actual remediation with the brownfields. It's not covering the actual potential demolition, correct?
This building is not scheduled for demolition. Okay. So the goal at this point is to remediate any materials in the building that could be hazardous, and then the project could move forward with what they are with deciding on what their final plan will be, which they have not finalized that yet, although they are seeking funding for renovations to the building. But at this point, the project in front of us would be the 106, and to determine whether or not this action would have an impact.
Okay. All right. Then I have no additional comments other than what's been provided. Any of our other commissioners have anything with regards to this? Okay. Thank you on that item. So we'll go ahead and move forward to 7B, which is going to be the review and comment on Section 106 for 716 West Kearney Boulevard, which is the Chandler Executive Airport hangar.
Right. Yeah, I'll do the project location and undertaking description for this as well. So this one, located near that address at 716 West Kearney Boulevard, we're looking at parcel number 464-22043, and then Appendix A is going to be your best project map. But what this is a hangar that is west of the main administration building. We're not talking about those or any of the restroom areas, but several hangars down at the very end. Airports is looking to remove asbestos and lead-based materials inside of a hangar. But this one also has some impacted lead soils where the lead-based paint on the east and south side of the building has fallen into the soil. And one of the alternatives to remediation is to dig and haul those contaminants as well. So that has the only bit of ground disturbance for this project. The building was deemed end of usable life and has been vacant for several years. And this is an action where we're going to basically remove the contaminants, and then it's going to set the stage for the next action to occur. Similar to any asbestos or lead impacted sites, the same sets, we're going to do site preparations, the abatement, we're going to dispose both the asbestos-containing material, lead-based paint from inside of the structure with no demolition or removals of any of the roofing. And then the cubic yards for lead-impacted soils is 140 cubic yards, and we've estimated that to be, I believe, 16 dump trucks. We're going to remove, I believe, 6 inches down on the east and west side. And happy to describe more of the location or take any questions you may have.
All right. Any questions regarding this item?
I have none.
Okay. Anyone? Okay. I think my only question was, given the fact it was determined to not be eligible, does it not potentially contribute to the actual historic district of Chandler Airport?
Oh,
I can, yeah, I can speak to that. So the historic district of the Fresno Chandler Executive Airport was developed during a specific period of time and has a specific style associated with it. This building is far removed from those buildings, as mentioned previously, and is not in keeping with that time period or style. And so therefore is not associated with that period of development at the airport.
All right. Thank you very much. I have no further comments. Okay. No one else? All right. We'll move on. Thank you very much for your time with regards to those. And we will now move on to item 7C, which is the establishment and appointment of the Municipal Code Review Subcommittee.
Ashley, did you want to handle this one, or do you want me to do that?
You can handle it either way. So this was an item requested. Sorry, let me first state that this is Ashley Atkinson, Assistant Director for Planning and Development. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The request to establish a Municipal Code Review Subcommittee for 2026 was made at a previous meeting. And so at this meeting, we would like to officially establish that subcommittee and appoint members. I see that we have a quorum, but that we do not have a number of members present. So I'm not sure if we will be able to solicit the input of everyone who may want to be on this subcommittee, but we can move forward to do that nonetheless. And this is the subcommittee that would review the historic preservation ordinance as it exists today and recommend and advise staff on potential changes to the historic preservation ordinance to modernize and incorporate best practices for historic preservation ordinances, generally speaking. That would ultimately, of course, require council approval of any text amendments or code changes, and this subcommittee would advise on that effort. So today we'd like to seek anyone who is interested, understanding that some of those interested may not be present.
All right. Thank you for that. I know that there was some potential expressive interest when this was brought up as an item to add to this agenda from last month. I did have a conversation with Vice Chair Hatwig, who is not here due to being ill, and he did express interest on being on that committee as well. If we wish to, as a commission, we can move this to January and table it until we have a full commission, or we can move forward.
I'm happy to participate on that as well.
Okay.
And I as well, in terms of the archaeology, I would like to see either Julie or myself. participate in terms of representing the archaeological dimension.
Okay.
But I could see us waiting till next month to sign.
Understood.
Yeah, I'm happy to participate, but I'm also happy to wait till next month.
Yeah, and I do know that we can only have a maximum of 3, because once we have more than that, then it's considered a quorum. So, I believe that there is significant interest in being part of this. So I am okay with us pushing this off to January, if that is what is desired. So if that's the case, then we can motion to move that.
I motion to wait until January to bring this up to the full commission.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, motion and a second. This does not also need to go out, correct? Yep. Very good. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, item is tabled to the January 2026 HPC meeting. All right, item 7D was removed, and so now we're going to move on to item 7E, which is the workshop on the Solar Rights Act.
All right, given we've had a lot of applications recently for solar on properties that either are listed or have the potential of being listed on the local register, we thought it would be important to review what authority we do and don't have as it relates to solar installation. So Ashley is going to be presenting a very brief workshop.
Yes, thank you. Hello again, Ashley Atkinson, Assistant Director for Planning and Development. As Jennifer noted, this will be a brief workshop, but happy to discuss and answer as many questions as we are able. Carrie, could you switch to the next slide, please? So what we have here is the official guidance from the State Office of Historic Preservation on this topic. It is very limited, as you can see, and notes that the Solar Rights Act in California does not allow the denial of solar panel permits. So they must be approved when they are applied for, but the city, and if needed, the commission does have the ability to review the permits that are applied for rooftop additions to confirm that they are consistent with standards 9 and 10 of the Secretary of the Interior standards, and that the historic integrity of the property is retained. Also, that if the panels, if they were removed in the future, would not impair the integrity of the property. So that is the official guidance from the state. It is not very extensive and, relatively basic, but wanted to also review with you standards 9 and 10 so that we have a common understanding of what we can look for when we review these permits. Could you switch to the next slide, Carrie? Okay, so Secretary of the Interior Rehabilitation Standard number 9 is that new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction, including in this case the installation of solar panels, shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. An example of that might be in terms of recent projects that we've reviewed, a tile roof or similar. And the new work shall be differentiated from the old. I don't think that's a concern in the case of solar installations because it is obviously not attempting to mimic the historic work, but also shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the integrity of the property and its environment. So that is an area where there is a little bit of discretion or judgment to be exercised in terms of whether the solar installation is compatible with the massing, size, scale, or features of that particular home. Rehabilitation standard 10 is that new additions and adjacent or related new construction shall be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. essentially that if the panels were someday removed, that the property would retain all of its historic significance, and that the property, the roof specifically, could be either would retain its form and integrity, or the form and integrity could be restored with replacement like for like materials. So as Jennifer noted, that is brief, but it is essentially the guidance that we have to work from when we are approving historic properties. And this does apply to certainly all listed properties. For purposes of CEQA, we are looking at these standards for any property that is over 50 years old in order to evaluate whether the solar installation complies with these standards. And with that, I will conclude my presentation, and we can take discussion and questions.
Any questions from the commission regarding this?
So, just so I understand it, we can't, the historic preservation cannot deny a permit. We can weigh in on the aesthetic impact that a solar array may have on a structure. So that means we could ask for a reduction in the number of panels or a relocation of them. We're not obliged to accept the most efficient layout. Is that correct?
I was not able to find any guidance on that particular matter. There, as it says, that jurisdictions are encouraged to confirm that work follows standards 9 and 10. And so as long as the permit is not denied, but can move forward in a way that, certainly, the goal of the installation is to provide a certain amount of solar power. I don't have the technical expertise to assess, what level of solar installation is needed, in a particular situation. But it is my understanding that for historic review purposes, we can, as a jurisdiction or as a commission, weigh in on the location of the installation, the method of the installation, and potentially the volume of the panels, but again, cannot just deny the permit.
I believe it was my understanding at reading the civil code that there's an item that notes that we can't decrease it by more than, of its effectiveness by more than 10%. So you could ask for, if it's a 24 panel system, you could ask for 2 to be removed if they're going to be creating an issue, but not necessarily can we, say, no, you got to move 8 or 9.
Cut it in half.
Cut it in half, yeah, exactly. Okay. Any other questions?
What civil code are you referring to?
I believe that's the civil code subsection 714.
Can you?
It's the
part that.
Yeah, it's so it's California Civil Code Division 2 Property Part 1 Property in General, Title 2 Ownership, Modifications of Ownership, and Conditions of Ownership, Section 714. And that's inside of that is where the Solar Rights Act it lays with regards to how that sits. So in there, it does note that you have a certain amount. Yeah?
Yeah, I can read that for you. It's reasonable restrictions on a solar energy system are those restrictions that do not significantly increase the cost of the system or significantly decrease its efficiency or specified performance, or that allow for an alternative system of comparable cost, efficiency, and energy conservation benefits. and significantly is defined as 10% of the cost of the system, or decreasing the efficiency of the system by an amount exceeding 10%.
Yeah.
So the cost or efficiency of the system.
So, Ashley, I think my question that I have is there a way that with, in tying in with our historic properties, that there could be some sort of design guideline where it says that they have to follow seams, that, they can't deface character-defining features as a result of it, if there's conduit that has to be laid between the systems, that it matches, and it has to be on a public-facing side, that it's painted to match the color of the building. Are those things that could be something that could be added? Those are not necessarily denying the project, but it's saying that it's helping to maintain the overall feature of the building.
I think, well, are you asking if that's something that could be added to our Fresno municipal code, or generally just as a guidance?
Possibly, or as as guidance as we see solar projects come through, that it's even if it's design guidelines or if it's part of our municipal coding that says, hey, if you come in, you have solar panels, you have to, the first option is to avoid it being on a street-facing side or a right-of-way facing side. If not, then it should meet XYZ, where it's, you work to make sure the conduit blends into it. The panel box itself is not located in the right-of-way. It's located at the rear of the building, things like that.
I was not able to find any guidance that says that the panels cannot be located on the street-facing side. We can continue to look at that potentially as part of our code review subcommittee, but to my knowledge, there is no guidance that states that that is a restriction that can be placed.
Right. I know that's not a restriction that can be placed. I do know that, looking at how that is written and things like that, we could make an ask that there's an alternative configuration is provided in the in the event of seeing if there's an option where they don't have to put it on the front facing side, where if they can put it on like an outbuilding or an auxiliary building that's on the property, rather than it just being directly on the front of the property. So I know we can make asks of alternative configurations, so long as it does not significantly increase the cost nor reduce the efficiency of the system itself.
Right. I think that's correct, that for historic buildings, we can make the ask that if the alternative configuration is possible, that we demonstrate, or that we ask the applicant to provide that alternative configuration, and unless they can demonstrate that it would result in a significant decrease in the capacity or an increase in the cost.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions on the workshop? All right.
Oh, I just hope that we can bring this up again in the ARC review subcommittee and maybe workshop some of the ideas that can help facilitate this in a capacity and cost-friendly way.
Well,
yeah, and certainly sorry to interrupt. The next time we do have a solar application on a landmark property or a property that's a contributor to a historic district, we will bring it to the subcommittee to explore the options.
all right. Given this is a workshop, this is not an item that goes out to public, so we will close 7E and move on to 7F, which is our update on our regular monthly topics.
Hey, Carrie, could you bring the presentation back up, please? Okay, for our monthly update on the Brewer Adobe, we do have some good news this month. If you could move to the next slide, Carrie. The tarping was completed, I believe, the early last week, so not quite in time for all of the rains this season. But as you can see, it is an improved method of installation and an improved material from the tarping that we saw last winter. And at this time, code enforcement has determined that the tarping is sufficient to meet the standards that we requested of them for this particular endeavor. We do still intend to meet with the applicant along with their architects and engineers early in the new year to talk about the next steps moving forward for potential demolition with preservation. But at this time, the protection element of our request to the applicant has been completed in a way that has satisfied the request that we made of them. And so, as I said, some good news for this month, and we will report back on the outcomes of the discussion next meeting. With that, I'll conclude this part of the staff updates and take any questions on the Brewer Adobe.
Okay, questions on that update? Okay. Any other staff updates beyond the there? Thank you.
Yes, just quickly to go over our report on activity in the last couple of months. As you can see, we have been approving entitlements received or reviewing entitlements received as they come in. These October and November numbers are much bigger than what we have seen in the past. And as noted last month, that's because in early October, we implemented a flag on all properties 50 years old or older. And every time a building permit comes through for any property 50 years old or older, we are now reviewing that for historic preservation purposes. So as you can see, that volume is quite large. I'd like to give special thanks to Carrie, who has been staffing us through this transition as Janice departed right as this was happening, and Carrie started supporting historic preservation at the same time. So Carrie has done a fantastic job of processing all of these permits and reviews in a much greater volume than we had seen previously. But the good thing is we are looking at every single one of those building permits, confirming that they are not impacting the historic integrity of the building, or if they are a designated building or part of a historic district, that they get the appropriate level of review. So it's good news that that's happening. Has just meant a lot more volume of work and processing. And congratulations also to Carrie for recently being promoted to the position of management analyst. And in that position, she's going to continue to support historic preservation. So we're very grateful for that. We had a couple of Section 106 reviews received and completed in November. Nothing for Mills Act and nothing for the mitigation program. So with that, I'll conclude the staff updates and take any questions that the commission may have.
Okay, questions regarding staff updates?
Yes, I have one. What is our update on getting a professional staff person, a historic preservation officer? I think we're coming up on a year since we had a doctor.
Yeah, so that's still in process. I can't comment on personnel items, but yes, that is still in process.
Let's see, what can we do to facilitate that process to get it pushed forward? It seems like we are supposed to be having someone with that background reviewing the permits. So, yes.
So specifically for any funded activity, we do have outside consultants that do review every application that comes in. For those that are not, there are individuals within the organization who could qualify even though they don't act in this position.
Is that going to be the future of this endeavor? To not have a...
Yeah, so again, I can't comment on personnel actions to the commission, I would be happy to take those individually.
All right,
All right,
thank you.
okay. We'll move on to subcommittee updates.
Nothing from ARS.
Okay. I don't think we had any other subcommittees meet, so we'll move on from there. So we'll move on to the chairperson's report. I was fortunate to be alongside Commissioner Laval last Friday as we had a beginning of a conclusion of what occurred with regards to the lanterns that were found on the Belmont subway. For those that have not heard yet, what was discovered was the Fresno City and County Historical Society started working to identify parts of the actual lanterns. They were able to identify using a plug outlet and a light socket to narrow down the time frame. The plug socket itself was only manufactured by the particular company that had the name on it between 1918 and 1940. So that narrowed down the time frame, and then the light socket itself actually narrowed down the time frame even further. And so with that, they were able to start to look through their records. They did find in a 1930 copy of the Fresno Bee a listing about a Yuletide lantern. And continuing to search the archive, they found it was only referenced 3 years, 1929, 1930, and 1931. And then with that, our Commissioner Laval went through the Pop Laval collection of photos and found one photo in 33,000 photos that have been scanned so far of these lanterns in operation. And the picture itself is actually not, the subject was not the lantern, the subject was actually the building that it was on top of, that had trees on top of the canopy. And it just so happened that Pop Laval caught one of these in the subject matter. Finding out more from the newspaper articles, they lined Fulton Street along the main business streetway essentially from Inyo all the way to about Stanislaus, which is why that accounts for the 80 plus that we have. And they sat on top of the what were known as electroliers, but more commonly we know them as the pineapple street lamps that we have around the city. And the goal that was hopeful of the fact that hopefully we can get some of these through an electrician rewired and have them on display during the next year's Christmas parade. They were used during Christmas time and had multiple lights throughout them. I did not realize exactly how many lights it was until seeing it in person. But it had a light on every corner, and then 2 in the main center, and then 2 at the top, in addition to the light that was part of the regular street lamp. So you had a ton of light at the time that was coming through those. The next part of the origin or question story that's going to come forward is, where were they? So we know that the city gained access after US 99 was moved to the freeway, to the Belmont subway. So we don't necessarily know whether or not they had been stored there since 1932, 1933, all the way to present day, or if they were in some other location and then moved. So they're going to continue to work on that. And the rarity of the photo that they found with the Pop Laval, so 1 in 33,000 already sounds pretty rare. But on top of all of that, the particular photo was done on silver nitrate, which a lot of it was, at the time, it's considered hazardous. It's actually considered flammable. So and many times a lot of photos were negatives were simply destroyed because they were too hazardous, too flammable to hold on to. So to be that this was originally a negative that was on silver nitrate, and somehow we still saved it from the fires, made it even more rare that we were able to capture this photo. It was very exciting to see, and I hope that we can, it's an example of what historic preservation does, and it is an example of why it's important for us to have this collection and have the information so that we can continue to move forward with it. With that, I conclude my presentation, my report, and we'll move on to unscheduled items, starting with members of the commission. Anybody? Okay. Any unscheduled items from staff?
Just one, Chair, just wanted to, at the end of the year, thank each of you for all of your hard work on the commission. Continuing to come and to serve. The work that you do is very important to the city of Fresno, and we appreciate your time and your expertise. Thank you.
And this time, we'll open up to members of the public. If anybody has any items they'd like to discuss, please come forward, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edward Medrano. I reside on Huntington Boulevard in a historic research resource and a Mills Act contract as well. I came to speak about a certain topic that I'm going to have to table until next month, but I really wanted to comment on the solar situation and not so much the legal ease and restrictions on them, but something that might be helpful is to create a publication that can guide the homeowners and their contractors into a proper installation of those. It doesn't necessarily have to threaten them with any legal or procedural problems, but we have a great deal of pride on the boulevard, and despite some of the, let's say, not as prideful properties close by, our boulevard remains beautiful, remains to be the living room of Fresno, and my neighbors are the greatest people on earth. So if we could support them by creating some sort of publication that will guide in the installation of solar panels, as I heard, I think, from one of your commissioners, we can't stop those solar panels from coming in. It's the future. But if we can bend it and make it something acceptable to everyone, I think we can get ahead of that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, Linda Scambray, always your faithful end of the meeting. And I want to congratulate Elizabeth and the archives and all of us who got to see that wonderful lantern on display. And I think that would make a marvelous cornerstone for the May Preservation Month Festival, and a great opportunity to put those lanterns someplace around the community so they're protected from vandalism and theft in glass cases that are, I thought that would be smaller and we could get them in all the libraries, but I think they're almost too big for the libraries. And I looked at the windows in the lobby here, and I don't think they'll fit in there either. We have to build a glass case for them in the lobby here. But it's a wonderful example, as you said, of preservation and of research to find out what things were here and why they were here. There are photographs of the lanterns on the mall, and there's a nice article that accompanies them that should go with every one that's on display somewhere so people can appreciate how that happened. And since May's coming up sooner than we always think, it would be great to have other activities. Maybe we're hoping to, Heritage Fresno is hoping to have an event at Warner's Theater. Be a great thing to show there in the lobby and could be protected as well there. And so if you would like, I can think of some other places maybe we can think of putting them. Any museum in town that wants one that has a good glass case for safety would be great. And of course, as you know, in order to support our work, we have calendars. If you need a nice gift that tells people what you do for helping Fresno, this is a great way to introduce yourself. They're only $20, and they show the buildings that are still left, and they show the buildings that have been torn down. And each year there's a new collection, and it's a great one to have. And then I understand that possibly the arch that the Caglia family saved is going to be moved. And wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to unveil and have a ceremony of in May, if that could possibly be moved and be moved into a place where it was very highly visible, maybe near the Warners, which the Caglia family also saved. So that's it. We get to go home and get the rest of the stuff done. Thank you.
My name is Diane Smith, and I live near Chandler Airfield. And the reason why I'm here is because I got the notice. But what was explained today didn't help me understand anything that's going on. We're living in an area in southwest Fresno, especially around Chandler Airfield, where there's a lot of old businesses that are being demolished, digging down in the soil that is more than likely contaminated. We're having more sick problems in that area, and now you're talking about doing this thing right in our neighborhood. So my question is, I live just west of Chandler Airfield, and I don't know if the person that was talking for the city can tell me exactly how far, when you start demolition, are you going to tent that thing so that we don't get the asbestos in the air like we get everything else? Because now, in addition to all the other things that are going on, we're surrounded by big red parking lots. So the issue is that we're constantly being named as one of the most polluted areas in the city or in the state of California, but yet and still the city continues to do things that continue to pollute our areas. So if anybody can tell me how close that's going to be to my house, and if it's going to be tented, I'd like to know, because if it's not tented, you will be hearing from me.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. With that, we'll move on. Our next meeting, I believe, if I have well, I can pull up the calendar directly. So our next meeting will be January 26th of 2026. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
All right, and a second? All right, thank you all. Meeting's adjourned. Have a very happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and we'll see everybody in 26. Thank you.